What's up everyone, MGR back again, and now we're looking at Kujou Sara. Unfortunately, as of Ball, I do not have the resources to level up my Kujou Sara, and therefore we will be using the test run Kujou Sara to show off her capabilities. Again, no materials, no resources. We'll have to get these up before we can truly showcase what she can do with a nice build. I will, however, say that if we thought the Electro Travel was good as a battery and a buff to Electro characters and your team overall, nothing compares to Ball or Sara Kujou. I'm going to say this from the beginning, you need C6 Sara. It sounds bad, but this C6 Sara is busted. Absolutely broken for Electro characters. If you're one of the people that used to complain about Electro needing a buff, Sara Kujou is the buff personified. But we'll get into that and discuss our other constellations soon. And here you are at the testing grounds with Sara, the one MiHoYo gives us. And now for her normal attack chain, just to show off that it's actually pretty cool and interesting. Both Sara and Ball have a very rigid normal attack chain. I feel emphasizing power, and I love it. It's really awesome seeing strong movements instead of fast, light looking attacks, focusing on emphasizing strength and stature, unmovable damage dealing units. I love it personally, but that's just me. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you like it as well. On to the main attraction today, Sara Kujou. As we're going through this, I know I've been hyping up Ball and Sara immensely and I sound like a broken record, but these two characters are immense additions to the game. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely. I can't say it enough. For Sara, we have the Favonius Warbow. In the test run, we have a 4-piece Noblesse set, we have 0 constellations, and we have talents at 888, and she is level 80, so we have both of her Ascension Talents unlocked. Here are her overall stats: 57 crit rate, 91 crit damage, 242% energy recharge, for good reason. We'll get into that and talk about what should be prioritized a bit later. Let's go to her talents real quick. No, let's go to her constellations, because I have been hyping this up for a little while, and let's just discuss it. C1 to 5 is meh, and as I said, C6. C1, when Tengu Jirai grants characters attack bonuses or hits opponents, the cooldown of Tengu Stormcall is decreased by 1 second. This effect can be triggered once every 3 seconds. It's always nice having extra cooldown. Dark Wings, unleashing Tengu Stormcall will leave a weaker crow feather at Kujou Sara's original position that will deal 30% of its original damage. Extra damage is always great, we never complain. C3 and 5, increasing her E and burst levels. C4, conclusive proof, the number of Tengu Jirai Storm Cluster released by Subjugation Kukusendo is increased by 2/6. And now for the C6 I've been riding so highly, Sin of Pride. The electro damage of characters who have had their attack increased by Tengu Jirai has its crit damage increased by 60%. It's absolutely busted. Think of characters that I've made videos on currently in the past. We have Catching, we have Razor, I will be making a Ball build in the future, but all those characters that are already good and do decent amounts of DPS, and now they're getting a 60% electro crit damage buff. Catching will be decimating things in their path, Ball will be decimating things in their path. Razor is a bit of a throw around because he does dual physical, but even he will be buffed. Lisa is going to be meta now. With Sara Kujou, you could literally run a full Electro team and wipe the game just because of this buff alone. it's absolutely broken. As mentioned, her normal attack, I don't see a reason why you should upgrade this unless you want to run her as a main DPS, which you could always do. So you can skip these and focus on Tengu Stormcall and Subjugation Kukusendo. So, Tengu Stormcall, retreat rapidly with the speed of a Tengu, summoning the protection of the Crow Feather, grants Crow Feather cover for 18 seconds, and when Kujou Sara fires a fully charged aim shot, Crow Feather cover will be consumed and will leave a Crow Feather at the target location. Crow Feathers will trigger Tengu Jurai Ambush after a short time, dealing electro damage and granting the active character within its AoE an attack bonus based on Kujou Sara's base attack. Does this sound familiar? This is literally Bennett ult in E form. Now I will admit it doesn't heal firstly, and second of all the scaling is much lower. At level 8 this scales to 69 percent ratio, while if I remember my Bennett's is currently at level 11, I have C5, so his is 106%. It's almost double on Bennett, but still you're getting a 69% attack bonus ratio buff from her E. Absolutely insane. If she wasn't insane enough. Looking at Subjugation Kukusendo, cast down a Tengu Jurai Titan Breaker, what an awesome name, dealing AoE electro damage. Afterwards, Tengu Jurai Titan Breaker spreads out into 4 consecutive bouts of Tengu Jurai Storm Cluster, dealing AoE electro damage. Tengu Jurai Titan Breaker and Tengu Jurai Storm Cluster can provide the active character within their AoE with the same attack bonus as given by the elemental skill Tengu Stormcall. So basically not only does this deal massive amounts of electro damage, but again you get the same damage buff as you do with Tengu Stormcall. It is put as a disclaimer in both skills that these do not stack unfortunately, so you can't use Tengu Stormcall and then switch to Subjugation Kukusendo and get a double damage buff. That would have been even more broken. And moving on to her Ascension Talents, Immovable Will. While in the Crow Feather cover state provided by Tengu Stormcall, aim shot charge times are decreased by 60%. Always great, you can get those Tengu Stormcalls off faster, meaning you get more attack faster, and you can just switch characters in a better order. Decorum. When Tengu Jurai ambush hits opponents, Kujou Sara will restore 1.2 energy to all party members for every 100% energy recharge she has. This is her worst skill and it's still amazing. She is almost an even better battery than Ball is, even better than the Electric Traveler currently is. And this is arguably her worst skill and it's still amazing. Oh, I can't believe Mioyo gave us 2 broken electro units. If you moaned about electro units not being the best, here's the buff personified. Again, just get her. Let's go on to the test run to see her in action. So ideally, you go in with Sara, activate her E, shoot a charge shot, switch to a damage dealing character, throw out their burst.
You're in for a little shock.
Rotate your characters.
You're in for a little shock.
Go back to Sara. Fire off another charge shot. Give the damage increase. Do some deeps. La la la. Go back to Sara and now use her burst. Give your other character the damage buff.
Try not to enjoy this too much.
And that's beautiful. That's just amazing.
Come a little closer.
Again, the great thing about Sara is you can use her E, get this damage buff without even hitting an enemy. It also applies to her, so if you want to run her as a main DPS, you can do that and buff herself with this ability. But as I mentioned, ideally use her, place your shot where you can get a real easy switch, get the damage buff, start dealing damage, and rotate your characters as necessary. The one thing I do want to get into real quick, even though her E is basically a Bennett ult buff, it is a very short duration of only 6 seconds. So you can literally only pop her E, place the buff where you need it, switch, activate a burst or an ult, burst or a skill, switch back to her, activate with a different character, unleash their burst, their skills, and there you go. So that's the ideal rotation if you're not using her as a main DPS. Having done the test run and showing Sara's amazing capabilities, let's discuss some weapons, artifacts and stats. For weapons, you are looking at basically any weapon that gives energy recharge. So something like the Favonius Warbow, or something I actually got today, the Sacrificial Bow, very handy, both giving energy recharge. Ideally, unless you're running her as a main DPS unit, you could give her something with attack, but very importantly, her E ability and the attack bonus it gives only scales off of Sara's base attack, meaning the only things that increase base attack is your weapon's base attack increase and Sara Kujou's level. So you're not going to then essentially stack attack percentage on her unless you're running her as a DPS. It's basically like Bennett as well. Most Bennett support builds focus on giving Bennett energy recharge instead of attack, because the attack doesn't do anything for the attack bonus he gives other characters. That being said, back to the lovely Sara. So any weapons that stack energy recharge is great on her. Moving on to artifacts. The go-to choice, of course, being the Emblem of Severed Fate set, giving energy recharge and as well as increasing her burst damage. Other sets that work great on her, as displayed in test run, 4-piece Noblesse, not only increasing her burst damage but giving the party as well burst damage. If you're running her as a main unit, you could think about running a Thundering Theory, giving her a 15% electro buff, as well as something like 2-piece Glad, giving her additional 18% attack buff. If you're thinking of running her like a physical DPS, which is possible, physical DPS Fischl is a thing, so Sara would also be a thing, you could run a 2-piece Bloodstained along with 2-piece Pale Flame. Unfortunately, I do not recommend running a 4-piece Pale Flame. Sara does have a 10-second cooldown on her E, and you need to refresh the buff every 7 seconds on a 4-piece. For main stats, definitely crit rate, crit damage as priorities, so that you can get the most out of being an off-field DPS, and battery. For second priority, you're looking at attack and flat attack, as well as maybe even prioritizing energy recharge above that. For main stats, I would run an energy recharge Sands, a electro damage goblet, as well as crit rate, crit damage, depending on what your Sara would need. And for talent priorities, I would prioritize Tengu Stormcall, as well as Subjugation Kukusendo, if you are not running her as main DPS. If you do, you definitely want to get your normal attack chain up as well, but personally I would be running her as both a buff support for my team and a battery. The battery mainly coming from Decorum, giving you your team energy based off of her energy recharge rate. That being said, I hope you did enjoy the short analysis of Sara Kujou. I am looking forward to building her for these next few weeks along with Ball, getting them battle ready as soon as possible. And I've also gone bankrupt trying to wish for Sara constellations. In the process, I have received another constellation for Sucrose, bringing her up to C3. I'm not mad about that. However, RNG not smiling upon me, I have C8 Chongling. Those could have been 2 constellations for Sarah. But we take what we get. This is MGR, looking forward to making content on 2.0, bringing you my Ball and Sarah videos in the future, and out.